Hello and welcome from IATEFL conference here in Brighton, in really sunny Brighton. I must say, we're very fortunate to have you all with us live from where the buzz and everything is happening. Now, it's been a fantastic 2 days so far, getting ready for the conference, also meeting people, reuniting with the team that is here, and also getting to know speakers, getting to meet them. And this is what you will be doing as well. You will be meeting lots of speakers today, lots of sponsors. You will get to feel the vibe of the conference. Now, we are in Brighton. We do apologize in advance if you cannot see because it's too dark. It's because it's too sunny. This is a very nice problem to have. Day one of the conference has been fantastic so far. We had an incredible plenary that you will be able to watch actually at 6 o'clock today. So it's going to go. So watch this space on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. So please watch this space. And also follow us throughout the day. Let us know where you're watching us from, and also participate in the little online questions that we will have for you, because this is where it's all happening. It will be a fantastic 4-day week where we will be bringing the IATEFL conference to you all the way from Brighton. So don't forget, let us know where you're watching us from, and we are ready to start the live shows with, of course, Nikki and Anka, who are here backstage waiting to interview our first speakers. Now, I'm very, very excited. A year has gone past since our last IATEFL conference in Edinburgh last year. Where did the time go, girls? It's unbelievable. So we are here in Brighton this year, and this is, again, for sustainability reasons that we will mention on Thursday on the World Earth Day. So stay tuned, stay with us. We are going to go live every day from 3 to 5 p.m. and we will bring you the conference in your screens. So a little bit of Brighton to you straight away.
Welcome to Brighton, the vibrant seaside city ensconced along the southern coast of England. Prepare to embark on a journey of discovery as we uncover the fascinating and quirky facts that make Brighton truly unique. Ever heard of a city spared by the enemy due to its architecture? Well, that's exactly what happened to Brighton during World War II. It's alleged that Adolf Hitler himself ordered the Luftwaffe, German Air Force, not to bomb the city. His bizarre reason? He was completely enamoured by the unique design of the Royal Pavilion. Apparently, Hitler envisioned it as his personal seaside getaway after conquering Britain. Luckily for Brighton, his plans never came to fruition, leaving the city and its architectural gem relatively unscathed.
And hi, and I'm here with someone I'm really excited about talking to, because right, you are doing a talk tomorrow.
Tomorrow, yes, tomorrow afternoon.
It's in my planner.
Okay, good.
Before we start talking
There's
about your
one
talk,
person there, brilliant.
before we start talking about your talk, could you introduce yourself to our?
Sure. My name's Farry. I worked for a long time for International House Cordoba. I live between Spain and London, and at the moment I'm a freelancer, but I work mostly with International House World as inspections and quality advisor.
Oh, you're the person that us teachers fear, isn't it?
No, I'm the person that comes to tell everybody how good you are. That's what it's about.
That's what it should be about, and hopefully that is like everything you'd have to
That's
say.
it. That's the only thing I do.
Nice job then.
No. There's lots of elements, but it's assuring quality for students and for employees as well.
Oh, it's very important, I think. And that sort of ties in with something that I think relates to your talk, because good work environments and working there, I think that sort of ties in with the female leaders.
Yeah, sometimes. I'm talking about women in leadership. what happened, I came away last year with lots of different ideas of projects that I wanted to do. And this is the one that I settled on in the end. And so I've been doing a series of interviews with women leaders. I haven't finished, so I'm looking for more participants. If anybody would like to be interviewed, please contact me. But I'm interviewing women leaders about their experiences, their stories, and I'm asking everybody one question, which is, what advice would they give to their younger selves? And I'm going to share some of the answers from that tomorrow.
Love that. And that's a good question to ponder over. What advice would you give your younger self? Okay, so before I hear more about the project, which I want to know, you said you're still looking for female leaders.
Yeah.
Since we have hopefully lots of female leaders in our audience, what exactly are you looking for?
People can find me on LinkedIn, and I'm looking for anybody who is working as a female leader and would be happy to be interviewed. It's about a half an hour interview for a future podcast about leadership and the ongoing investigation that I'm doing. So yeah, I want to hear from different people. I've interviewed people from 3 different continents so far. Be good if we could get them all, but different experiences, different types of jobs. I think it's the stories that are interesting.
And when you say leaders, like I once in teacher training wrote a whole essay about all teachers being leaders.
Yeah.
Are you talking management, or can we take that definition?
Yeah, no, management and directors, but definitely academic managers, directors of studies, anybody who's looking after a team and a team of staff. Yeah, so a bit flexible because, like you say, there are.
Which continents are we still looking for?
Australasia, please. I need Australia, New Zealand, and I would need more Asia, more South America.
Okay, so if you do know a female leader or manager in any of those, reach out, please. Now, you've asked them that one question. What advice would you give your younger self?
Yeah.
And that's what the talk is about.
Partly that, and partly the key themes that came up in the discussion. So I spoke to everybody for around half an hour, a bit longer in some cases. And there were some key themes that came up in all of the conversations, or most of the conversations, that I'm wanting to talk to, that I'm going to present as things that perhaps we need to still be thinking about when we're looking at women in leadership.
Can I get any spoilers from you? I promise I
don't want to give too much away. Let's have a think. Well, I can tell you there's an interesting conversation around boundaries and the emotional load of working as a female leader. That it seems to be around a different style of leadership that women have. I'm not going to say more than that though, because
don't. But I do think that a lot is being said on this topic, and I sometimes am guilty of like the social media scrolling, and then I come across these facts, social media facts, I want to call them. I'm not sure they're actual facts, but they're numbers. Talking about like how more difficult it is for female leaders to be taken seriously, and how if you are decisive, it can be viewed as more negative than if you're male.
Definitely. I mean, there's a feeling that things have changed, but I'm very sure it hasn't changed in all contexts because of the conversations I've had with people. And I think the lived experiences of lots of women is a different type of judgment of their behavior. Or different expectations of their behavior as women leaders. So yeah, we want to explore that a little bit tomorrow.
But why do you think that is? Like, how would I be differently perceived? What would my challenges? I'm a teacher, so not a leader according to your definition.
Right, but also,
let's say I get a promotion.
Okay.
What should I be like mindful of? How would I be perceived differently?
Yeah, and I think that mindful of before is really interesting, because I think perhaps we go into it a bit without a plan, and often the mold of leadership is built around the people who were there first, and the people who were there first were the guys.
Yeah.
in the olden days.
Yeah.
And so often people's role models or people's expectations for behavior may be around what it used to be. And whereas we need to make a decision about what kind of leader we want to be based on who we are.
So you're basically saying it is getting better,
I think so.
but that first wave of female leaders is now facing different expectations,
I think so.
and they have to sort of set the tone, so to speak.
Yeah, and we need to kind of go into it. I think looking for advice is about perhaps going into it with a bit of a plan beforehand, as opposed to it just happening to us.
But what's the plan? Because my plan would very girly be like, I'll bring cake. Like Georgia is my example of a female leader, and she's stuffing us with cookies and tea here.
Does that work?
Like that's, for me, it does actually. Yeah. But also she brings like the best cookies, so that helps. But like, what kind of plans should I?
Tomorrow. Yes. I mean, I think it's about knowing yourself and knowing that there are many different types of leader and they are all equally valid, but working out where you fit in that paradigm and where you want to be.
That actually sounds a lot like teacher training for teachers also. Like, you know, you have to find your style. No, but you need to be familiar with all of them and find which ones you're comfortable with to do. Absolutely. Yeah. What takeaways? Because you talk to a lot of inspiring people, I can imagine.
Lucky.
Oh yeah, sounds like a great project. What other takeaways did you get from this? Maybe not necessarily tied to the talk you do, but like what takeaways did you get from those talks?
I am talking about that, definitely. But I think one of the important things is that the conversations themselves are important, that we all need someone to talk to and to share our ideas with, and that sometimes leadership can be quite lonely, and that it's okay to talk to other people about their experiences, and it's just a joy to listen to other people that have experienced something similar to you, and to be able to kind of feel a bit validated. Oh, it's not just me. That's quite a relief.
I can imagine that
sometimes.
helps if you're struggling is maybe a big word, but if you're like trying to fit in, it might help to share. And
you were talking about social media, even as a parent, when you go on social media and you see that kind of all teenagers are a bit difficult, then that's a bit of a relief. So when
it's not just mine. Oh my gosh.
So it's the same sort of thing when you're working in leadership, and then you discover that, oh, actually everybody has insecurities, or everybody has different issues, or maybe similar issues to you, then that's quite a relief too. So that's kind of where I want the project to go in the future, is to be sharing those stories more and more.
That sounds nice. So that would then become a podcast series, or
for as long as people are interested, really.
Oh, I can imagine you'll stay interested, because
I will.
No. Well, so would I. Like these are the kind of stories you want to hear about. Like, is this how you'd want to do it? Is this what I want to do? I think one of the things because it's focused on ELT.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think one of the things about ELT I love is that it's such a broad thing. I'd always brag to my biology colleagues that they'd stuck with their topics, but we can do anything as English teachers. But also career wise, there's so many options after just teaching.
That's right. And so not just kind of like a DOS or just not director, but other people who work in the industry that are leaders, but not necessarily in those more traditional roles as well.
Love that.
So lots of kind of, well, where might you go in the future? What path could you consider as well?
How many interviews have you done so far?
About 15 so far. And I've got another 3 or 4 lined up quite soon, but we didn't manage to squeeze them in before the conference. And then I'm looking for more.
So if you know a female leader, and then especially South America, Asia, or Australia, New Zealand, reach out, please. If you know a female leader in Europe also, or the United States, reach out.
I guess. I'm interested to as many, the more voices, the better. Really.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Any last words of wisdom for female leaders, other than that they need to find you on LinkedIn so they can schedule their interview?
I think don't keep secrets don't think you're the only one. Talk to each other and hold each other up.
Brilliant. Love that. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Lovely speaking to you.
Hello and welcome back. And to anyone that's just joined us, welcome to Brighton. And I am delighted to be joined by Vanessa from the British Council. Hello, Vanessa. How are you?
Hi, Nikki. Yeah. Hi, everyone. Really nice to meet you. I'm enjoying my day here so far.
I was going to ask,
great.
are you enjoying the conference so far?
Yeah, brilliant. It was a really fantastic plenary session this morning. Really relevant themes there around modelling practices and some great sessions so far. Yeah.
Fantastic. Glad to hear that. Vanessa, can you just tell anybody at home and watching what you do for the British Council and what the British Council are doing here at the moment for the conference?
Yeah, sure. So my role is Head of Professional Development, and that's for our work in English and school education.
Mm-hmm.
So working with education systems, with ministries of education, with teachers themselves and teacher educators globally as part of our global programs, for example.
Okay, and the British Council are focusing on professional development for teachers and education systems. What is the core kind of your core values, or what's guiding the approach to professional development?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think our approach and the core of it really starts with the belief that teachers really matter, teaching really matters, and of course teaching quality is really important. We see teaching quality really as the gateway to learning and opportunities. And within that, professional development as an ongoing process for teachers. So looking for ways that we can support teachers and the education systems can support teachers with their professional learning at all stages of their career. So from initial teacher training through to, practicing teachers as well.
And so what differentiates your approach, for example, to others?
So I think at the kind of core of our approach and what makes it really unique, there's perhaps three things that I could highlight. So for starters, context is really, really important. So everything that we do with teachers is co-created in one way or another. So for example, working with individual teachers to support them to reflect and plan their own CPD journeys, through to working with education systems to co-create programs of CPD and CPD policies that can better support teachers within the systems to engage in professional development. I'd also say that the approach is very much kind of research and evidence informed, but practice led, in that it's really important that everything we do is, of course, founded on a strong evidence base, but also that there's that really practical aspect of, what does this look like in the classroom in the diverse contexts that teachers are in around the world.
Absolutely, because it must be, you can't really do a one size fits all, can you? It's that's
absolutely. Every teacher is unique needs, and every classroom is unique, as well as the learners within it. So very much context driven by personal needs. It's also a very collaborative approach. We really value collaborative learning, mentoring, engaging in communities of practice, creating opportunities for teachers to really share those personal experiences, the challenges and the CPD opportunities that they're participating in.
Absolutely. And for anyone watching at home or anyone here, what kind of ideas do you have maybe that we could put into practice to engage a bit more meaningfully in professional development?
So I think sometimes kind of when teachers start to take a look at professional development and think about what could they focus on, what areas, it can often be quite overwhelming. You know, there's so many different things that we could be doing and different opportunities that we could engage with. So I think it's really important to kind of start small and be really intentional with that. So thinking about which area of practice you would like to start working on, where your particular area of need is, or your student's area of need that you would like to work on. And for doing that, a framework can be really useful. At the British Council, we have frameworks for teachers and teacher educators. You can find them on our teachingenglish.org site. These have professional practices that cover the kind of skills and the attributes and the qualities that are really needed for effective teaching, and enable teachers to take that step, that reflective look at their practice, where they are with it, what areas it would be most useful for them to improve. And then we have resources mapped to that, you know, whether it's attending a webinar, you know, or engaging in a community of practice, or taking a course that's available as well on our site.
And so if anyone's kind of wondering, start small, could it be something like, oh, I'm not sure about my instructions in the classroom? Could it be as small as that? Or
yeah, absolutely. Thinking, you know, from how you're managing the lesson, instructions being a part of that, through to thinking about, you know, having diverse multilingual contexts in your classroom, more diverse classrooms, how you're including all of those learners as well. So it can be something really small and specific, or it could be a broader area like inclusive practice that you wanted to learn more about. And really thinking, you know, for example, in sessions that we're all attending here at IATEFL, thinking after each one, what can I take from this session? What could I use in my classroom next week or next month?
That's a really good point, isn't it? Sometimes we're kind of watching the session and we're engaged, but to have the hat on of thinking, what can I take away and use in my context? I think, yeah, definitely helps. You mentioned that we could find frameworks on the website. Yeah. Is that accessible to everybody, or is it registered? Or
yeah, absolutely, it's open access, teachingenglish.org.
Perfect.
So the frameworks are there. You can use the frameworks to guide your professional development journey. If you go to teachingenglish.org and then teachers, each of the professional practices are listed there from the framework as well, and the resources that are tied to those.
That's brilliant. And that's for teachers of any level, from like maybe pre-service to experienced teachers.
Absolutely. Yeah, and we've been talking to teachers today that are right at the beginning of their journey, you know, that are still in their initial teacher training, through to much more experienced teachers that have already attended IATEFL many times as well.
That's perfect. Brilliant. I wanted to ask you, so how does the British Council support kind of multilingualism in terms of learning English, and also in contexts where people are taught through English?
Yeah, so that's it's an area that's really, really important to us in the British Council. That's why I thought the plenary was so fantastic this morning as well. I had a real focus and some really important questions to ask ourselves about, you know, multilingual practice and how we're valuing all languages in the classroom as well. And it really starts with, you know, language being seen as at the core of learning. You know, language is important for all learning to take place, all learning and communication, and also viewing the languages that any learner has available to them, you know, their home and familiar languages, as a resource in the classroom, a resource that can support their learning. So in the English classroom, that might involve using multilingual practices. I attended a great session this morning on translanguaging, these type of techniques. Or in an English medium education system, this might take the form of more language supported pedagogy, looking at how we can really support understanding in a language that's unfamiliar for the majority of students in the classroom. This also is very well articulated in our updated position paper. which takes a more language responsive approach to education.
Mhm.
So thinking how we can respond to those diverse linguistic contexts that are increasingly becoming more a part of classrooms globally. That's actually already available on the site on teachingenglish.org. So I'd encourage anyone that's interested in this topic
Just
to
in case
download.
anyone's kind of unfamiliar with a position paper, what is it? Just to give some context.
Yeah, so it's to outline, ourselves as the British Council, the perspective that we take on languages in education. It's very much a pragmatic approach. It's not looking to advise on whether any specific education system, should adopt English as the medium of instruction, or if they're considering doing so, at what age that should be, but rather encouraging from decision makers through to practitioners, encouraging an approach that really thinks through everything that's required to support learning across the education system. So what's required in terms of assessment, curriculum, teaching and teacher pedagogy and CPD, materials and resources, all of those core components of the education system.
That's perfect. And that's a great thing to have a look at, isn't it? Just to, I'm sure we are aligned, but just to check and see, this is the way that I want to go as well. That's fantastic. One last question. What are you most looking forward to about Brighton?
About Brighton, well, I used to visit Brighton as a child. My grandma used to live here, so it's really nice to come back.
So you know
I've been
it.
back for a number of years. So in terms of Brighton itself, I'm really happy to be here. Right opposite the pier and things. In terms of being at IATEFL and seeing colleagues from all over the world, it's just a fantastic experience, really, to be able to connect with people either I know and haven't seen for a long time, or people that I haven't met before as well. Yeah, new faces.
Oh, excellent. Well, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. And just a reminder that if you are looking to develop professionally, please do go to the website teachingenglish.org.
Teachingenglish.org.
And there you can find frameworks, you can find a lot of things that might help people on their journey. That's brilliant. Thank you very much for everything that you're doing, and thank you for being with us this afternoon.
Thank you. Yeah, lovely speaking.
And I'm back, here with a speaker, not the plenary speaker, but you practically opened the conference this morning with your talk. Could you introduce yourself to our viewers?
Hi, I'm Nick Peachy. I call myself the Pedagogical Director of Peachy Publications, and I've been working in ELT for about since the last century, so years and years, about 35 years, and I work mainly in teacher training and digital publishing these days, doing a lot of things with AI, things like that.
And that ties in with your talk, because that was about AI and how it can help us teachers.
Yeah, it was on sort of linking AI to the British Council CPD framework. the British Council's devised a really nice CBD framework of breakdown of different skills that teachers need to develop to be perfectly competent, and different levels within those skills. So I tried to link AI to different things that could help them move themselves up the different levels of the competency.
Could you give me some examples? Which skills do I need to be a good teacher?
There are the kind of obvious ones, things like knowledge of the language, knowledge of grammar, vocabulary, things like that. And sort of less obvious ones are things like understanding inclusion and diversity, maybe.
Also helps.
Obvious one. Sort of knowledge of sort of more soft skills things about your students and how to sort of manage them, things like that. So all different sorts of things within the framework.
Okay, and I'll not comment on how good I am, but let's say there's room for improvement. What should I do then? Well, how can AI help me?
Well, I think AI can help you in a lot of ways. I think it's I mean, the thing that I was trying to sort of convey within the talk is that, we should use AI in a way that it becomes a mentor and collaborator with us, rather than using it as a kind of offloading our work to it. So, there's a huge temptation, I think, just to sort of, get ChatGPT to do it or get AI to do it, and whereas, you can use it in a way that ChatGPT helps you to do it. And so you learn more about how to do it. One of the examples I gave was action research. I think it's great to do action research and put together action research projects, but for a lot of teachers that can be quite daunting. There's a process that you need to go through, you need to gather data, all of those things.
Yeah.
But using the prompt that I demonstrated, you can get your AI assistant to walk you through the process of designing your project. So, and it will take you step by step, asking you questions, getting you to think about it. And at the end, you can work with ChatGPT or whatever your AI assistant is to produce your action research project and decide what you want to, how you're going to gather data and all those things.
I love that. So instead of, because I admit, like, on the record, I'll admit that I'm an offloader. So whenever I need stuff done, need like 20 example sentences, and I get lose inspiration after 2. So I'll ask the other ones to ChatGPT. You're saying you can also use it as a partner. So then ask it to, okay, I'm going to do this project. What tips do you have, or how should I approach this? Or
you can prompt it to walk you through the process, and in doing that, it takes you through step by step, and you learn how to do it. You're not just devising your action research project, for example. You're building up the metacognitive skills to understand how an action research project is developed. So, that's going to make it easier for you to do the next one.
It does. How do I stay in control, though? Because I think when I look at how people around me are using AI, it's either as like the servant who does all the jobs, or it's like the person who takes over your job.
Yeah.
How do I, if I do that, how do I make sure it's an equal partnership?
Yeah, I think it all comes down to the prompting, actually, and understanding your kind of prompt engineering. Sorry to use that word, it's not one that I like, but if you understand how to write the prompts properly, how to instruct it, how to give create your initial balanced prompt that gives it your instructions, it acts as a guide rather than deciding things for you, and it just asks you questions. One of the things that I drew on in the talk was that the very first AI chatbot was actually developed in about 1966, 1967. And
really?
It was called Elisa, and it was developed as a psychotherapist. And so it would kind of help people analyze their own problems. And so, it was very basic at that point, but it would say, you would go to it and tell it your problems. And so I would say, for example, or I'm having a problem with my wife, and the AI would just kind of echo things back to you. It'd say things like, "Oh, you're having a problem with your wife. Why do you think it's a problem?"
But that's good.
And you can do this much better with modern AI, and it will guide you through the process just through asking you questions.
It's what we do as teachers too, isn't it? Like if a student has a problem, we don't just say, "Here's the answer." We'll help them figure it out themselves.
Yeah, it's much more of a kind of Socratic approach, that it doesn't doesn't tell you stuff, it asks you things. And you,
Yeah.
oh yeah, you think about
But
it,
as you're
don't
saying, you have to ask it to ask you
you? Yeah,
questions.
as long as you
So-
get your prompting right at the beginning, should be fine.
Yeah, okay. So beforehand, make sure to ask your AI to ask you the questions to help you
Yeah.
get better.
Yeah.
Is that also how you think it helps us to, I don't want to say stay in control, but when it comes to AI, obviously, aside from all the advantages it gives us,
Yeah.
I do hear a lot of people also saying it's going to cost me my job, or is it going to take over?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's on a different level. I think, you know, on the simple level of prompting, you know, you're working with an AI assistant that can be really good. I think there's this higher level at which, you know, there are companies who own big large language models who are probably looking at the English language market and thinking we can take a slice of that, you know, and that, to be absolutely honest, I think that will happen. There will be a slice that goes, you know, particularly in the area of probably online learning, you know. So, for example, you can develop quite a good chatbot that can actually tutor a student through an app on a phone. And, you know, as someone who I used to work with a startup delivering online learning, and, you know, the biggest problem really was the cost of the teacher. You know, you could, but if like things like AI can reduce the cost of the teacher to sort of minimal, and so you could get, I mean, it won't be a great lesson that you'll get through your app, but for somebody who's got very little money, you know, there's a possibility to get a lesson
It
through
does
it.
make it
So-
accessible, true.
So there is that slice that could be taken away from us. You know, I don't think, you know, I think, and that's what's happening in other industries like translation or voiceovers, even acting, marketing, you know, things at the low level that are quite simple, you know, for people who are average, you know, their jobs could be replaced if you're very good at what you do. And of course, all of us here are, because, you know, we're developing ourselves and we're watching online, you know, online development. Then I think if you're at the top, it should increase your value, you know, rather than decrease it.
It does, and I think there should always be room for that. And I think that's what your first talk was about. Now you also get to do a second one. Not many people do, but like you actually, like you're one of the big guys. You had like one of the big rooms this morning, and you're doing a second talk.
It's not a talk. It's I'm doing a panel discussion with
where he gets to talk.
I get to talk. I get to talk.
It's not an official talk, admit.
It's a panel discussion for Pearson's, and it's on AI with informative assessment and what can happen with that.
And again, I assume it's like we are needed to, as teachers, personal teachers, like human teachers, we are needed to make those assessments, but AI can be of help.
Yeah, AI I think can help us a lot, and it can give, I think, you know, any kind of assessment, we know that feedback for our students is one of the most important things in helping them to develop. But, you know, if you have 100, 200 students, you can't give them feedback on everything they're doing.
No, I know from experience, like I get my essays by the hundreds and I have to grade them within 2 weeks. And we do know that feed forward is immensely important. Whereas but sleep is also for my health kind of important. And then how do you do that?
So potentially AI could be giving them some sort of formative assessment and feedback along the way towards, and then at the end of that, you know, you get good teacher assessment and feedback as well. You know, again, it's probably not going to be perfect, and it's not going to be as good as a good teacher can do. But, you know, if it's the choice between something and nothing, then, you know, I think
then it's good. And also, I think if AI can do the legwork for me, that actually makes my feedback better, because the feedback I'll be giving will be more intelligent, communication focused, and less spelling and grammar and the things that I've told them 100 times and they keep doing wrong, because that's what AI can then do.
And of course, as you know, if you're using it as a teacher, obviously you're going to check what it tells your students before you give it to them. So, but you can, you know, I know when I've got loads of students, the temptation to keep repeating yourself or using the crib sheet and not really, you know, to give your full attention to every student is quite difficult. But if you can offload some part of that work onto the AI, and then you get to follow through and sort of check it, and maybe the AI spots something that you didn't, and maybe it misses something.
I think
So
studies are
that can be
showing
quite
that
good.
whether it's about creativity or work,
Mhm.
if we use AI, it makes us better.
Yeah.
But if we let AI do it, it's not
Yes, that's
necessarily
right,
good.
yeah,
So
yeah.
you have to find that balance between how can it help me
Yeah.
without it taking over or my
Yeah,
job.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. So what last tips for people watching saying, I am using it, everyone's using AI these days. I am using AI. What can I do to
Yeah.
like make sure that it doesn't take over the job, but it helps me
Yeah.
to be my best teacher?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest tip is to think carefully about your prompting. Make sure it's working in partnership with you rather than, just doing stuff forward that you're not checking maybe.
Yeah.
Be aware of the fact that you have to check everything that it does. And I think in terms of as well, I mean, in terms of the work that your students do, I know that a lot of teachers are very worried about sort of students are just getting it to do their assignments for them.
That is a big worry. Yeah.
And there are, whatever they say, there are no really reliable tools to check that. I mean, lots of people that say, oh, check GPT-0 and things like that. They're ridiculously inefficient.
No, but they are. And I think they have something against second language learners.
Yes.
Because I say we because I'm Dutch, like we tend to stick to the sort of school book English, which is then more easily picked up by AI detectors.
Mistakenly identify you as being.
Oh yeah, a while back, Frankenstein, I think, was like identified as written by AI, which I'm pretty sure is impossible.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's that.
I think the thing there is, with every problem, you should look for the opportunity, and the opportunity there is to rethink a lot about the way we do assessment, and think more about assessing the process and thinking about process rather than assessing the end product. And I think that's something that's for me
that
it's
sounds
been bugbear for a long time.
Good, but let's say I have a writing assessment. I teach university students. I have writing assessments. I think every level you have writing assessments. I think it's also one of the easiest ones taken over by AI. You're saying normally I check the final essay, and that can now be written by AI. How could I rewrite my assignment in such a way that I can test the student on writing without having to worry about AI?
I think one of the things that we need to think about is the processes that we want our students to use when they use AI. I don't think we should expect them not to use it at all, because it's going to be a life skill that they need. So let's think about, okay, how should they use this in a way that's productive, that actually helps them learn? So I think, assuming that they're going to use it and asking them to show the steps that they've used. For example, in ChatGPT, if you use it and you use a prompt, you can sort of copy out the whole of your interaction with it and share it with your teacher, or get a link to your interaction with it. And so we need to start thinking about teaching them the processes, And I guess it's a bit like the difference between process writing and product writing. If you go for a process approach, you're looking for, okay, what was your brainstorming and how did you develop your first draft? What's the difference between your first draft and your second draft? I mean, that's going to make assessment a lot more difficult, but, potentially AI can help us there.
It sounds daunting because I have to set it up. But I think what you're saying is basically the same as a teacher. I have to rewrite my essay assignment. I can use the knowledge of AI to ask it, how can I do this? And then I'll teach my students the same. They are using AI. How can they do it? And how can they share that they do it in a way that they benefit from and improve their English and writing skills?
And I think, they have to understand that as well, just offloading their work. And, if they're just offloading their work to it, they're not learning anything. And I mean, I know, some students are very happy just to get a certificate and not learn anything. But, in the longer run, I think most of them are aware, okay, we need to be learning something.
In the long run, I think everyone knows that when it comes to language classes, you don't get away with it. Like you might get away with it on a test, but then as soon as you have to talk to someone,
when you need to, you're lost.
Yeah, and that's more embarrassing, and that I think might help them to at least try. Any last tips for teachers, people working in ELT in terms of using AI?
Yeah, I mean, I think and I think a lot of people are quite afraid of it and are quite reluctant to use it. A lot of people are worried about it, but I think the most important thing is to, explore, use your curiosity, find out more, find out how you can use it to help you and what it can do to help you. Be engaged with it rather than sort of avoiding it or just offloading work to it.
Okay, so engage with AI, ask it questions and make sure it asks you questions. And then while you guys are looking at the next ad, I'll be asking my ChatGPT how to rewrite my essay writing assignment.
Good luck with that. Yeah.
Thank you. And I'm here with Jamila and Fabian. For the people who don't know you, could you introduce yourselves?
Thanks. So I'm Fabian. I'm from Switzerland. I'm probably a little bit the weird kid around here in IATEFL because I'm actually not a teacher. I used to be a student. I'm a banker for almost 30 years now. But I'm sitting on the advisory board trying to help the organization getting into a sustainable future. And I'm very passionate about languages. I think languages is what has made my career. So I'm happy to be here.
I'm Jamila. I am also obviously on the advisory council with Fabia. We're new members. And I would say that my background is very much in EFL. Started off as a teacher, progressed into management, and then completely pivoted and am now in medical education.
Medical education and a banker. Now, normally I'd say, what are you doing at IATEFL? But obviously you already said it. You are on the advisory council.
Correct.
What is the advisory council?
You see the coordination already looks perfect. That's
so in sync.
So it's literally advising, right? So I think an organization, a great charity like IATEFL, it's always good to bring in outside expertise on certain topics, bring in probably some challenges on certain ideas, some new ideas probably also to the table. So I think it's really advising the organization in how to bring the future to life, how to help the teachers, how to help the students, how to make it even bigger and better than it already is. Because if you look around here today, it's an amazing event already. So I think it's going to be difficult for us to make it still better, but we are trying to work on it.
That's it. As Fabian says, it's really about sitting on the kind of the cusp of what does the future look like. So IATEFL would bring to us different things that they're thinking about and we would input our ideas. So it's a really exciting room to be in.
Can imagine. And you're new. That's also why we're doing the interview. I think you've been chosen it's like a month or two ago, something like that.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
So you've been doing it a couple of months now. How much work do we need to get even better? Because that's your job, right? To advise us on how to improve.
We're already market leaders,
like how bad are we?
Absolutely not. I think, and the fact that that we are sitting on the board and that there is this turnover of like new people, new minds. It's always a direction, right? There's no, final point that we're aiming for. It's just the process of getting there. So I think that's as soon as we get there, it moves again. So there's no defined time.
True. Now, I have another question. Most people might not know this, but everything about IATEFL, it's voluntary work. Even our presidents, myself doing this now, the stewards in the hallway, everything is voluntary work. This is also voluntary work for the two of you. How much work is it?
I think that's the great thing about volunteering. You can choose in the end of the day, but it's a passion project, I think, for you,
yes.
for me, for everyone here. And I think as soon as passion comes into the equation, in the end of the day, it doesn't really feel like work.
Yeah.
And we're happy to be here. And I traveled from Switzerland to be here. and I enjoy it. So I think it's something that's not really a lot of work. We have a couple of meetings every year, and then obviously interaction with John and the team here and there when they need or request our advice. But it doesn't, at least for me, never feels like
No,
work. I guess
no,
the
no,
same for
that's
you.
it. Yeah. I mean, I've taken leave from my actual job to be here. But as Fabian says, it doesn't feel like work. It feels like a bit of a holiday. We get to talk about something that you really are passionate about. Yes, that is
The weather
true.
is actually really good. It's a pity that our studio is actually in the basement.
Yeah.
So we don't really get to see it here, but after this, hopefully you can actually catch some vitamin D and
I don't know. I'm planning to go into a forum on diversity. So,
oh,
yeah.
interesting.
Straight
And you,
in.
any plans for the rest of IATEFL?
I will walk around and pop in here and there where I think there's an interesting crowd to see and a good presentation.
Sometimes no plan is the best plan. Well, in that case, I'll talk to you at the end of conference and hear what happened and what you saw.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hello, everybody, and I'm delighted to be joined by David Burke, or how he's better known as Slangman.
In person. Hey, everyone.
David, thank you so much for joining us. Can I call you David or Slangman? What do you prefer?
Everyone calls me Slangman. I think
Okay.
it may be easier. But I have to tell you something kind of funny.
Okay.
I was on BBC Live, and they gave the speaker one of my books. I write books on slang, American slang and idioms.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't look at the name Slangman. He just thought he heard something, but it was wrong. So what he did was he said, ladies and gentlemen, we have a very interesting author with us today. He calls himself Slime Man. He writes books on slime. So there I had to go live TV to a lot of people and say,
No.
it's not slime. I write books on slang, not slime, slang. And the poor announcer said, oh, okay, well, what about it?
Well, that's boring.
So time of death of that interview was like 10:02 in the morning. So
All right.
I have
So
to be very careful to say slang.
slang. Okay. So we won't be talking about slime. That would
Not slime.
never even occur to me.
Sorry,
Just
don't turn the dial.
slang. No slime. But so tell us everything. First of all, so this is your first time at IATEFL as an exhibitor. First of all, how are you finding the experience?
They put me in a place that's so incredible.
Mm-hmm.
We're packed. I've been surrounded probably at the most maybe by, I'd say, 200 people. It's been amazing. I'm at the place where people register and pick up their bags.
Oh, that's lovely.
And then across from IATEFL, I'm in the best spot. This has been the best conference I've ever been to, and I've done many.
Oh, that's fantastic to
It's
hear.
really exciting.
So if anyone is watching this but is actually at the conference, if you come in through the doors, then you'll find David or Slangman kind of just walk through, turn left slightly, and there we go. There's the
I'm
stall.
the very subtle booth with about 300 flashing lights and 2 huge lights on a big, gigantic poster. Very understated. So you can't miss me.
So Slangman, what are you doing here? How did you get into this whole TEFL? What's your journey been?
So my family is from Europe,
Right.
and they speak 7 languages, and that's what I just grew up with. It was natural for us to hear Russian and Polish and French and Italian and Spanish and
Oh,
German.
wow.
So when I went to France, thinking I could speak French, so my dad spoke to me in French, but he spoke to me in academic French. So I go to France to visit my family, and they understood me perfectly. I was so, but then when they spoke to me, I understood nothing because it was all in slang. I didn't realize there was a whole language that I never learned.
Mm-hmm.
So I quickly wrote words down on my arms, on anything I could get my hands on to write down slang words that I was hearing. And I created the first street French book that John Wiley and Sons in New York published. And so after I did the street French, they asked me if I could do one on street Spanish. And I said, well, I don't speak. Sure. Okay, I'll do it, because I had a formula. And then after that, I did street German and street Italian, but it never dawned on me to write a book on street American slang. But something funny happened at the gym. A French friend of mine named Pascal was working out with me, and someone walked up to him and said, "Hey, Pascal, what's up?" And Pascal takes a few steps back and starts checking out the ceiling. And I had to explain, no, that's just American slang, like what's shaking, what's cooking, what's going down. And he's looking at me like, what? And then his friend made matters much worse. He said, so Pascal, did you hear how the Italian soccer team licked the French team? And his mouth dropped, and I suddenly realized the visual he had, and I'm like, no, Pascal, that's not what he said. So I had to explain, it means to beat. It has nothing to do with what you're thinking. So at that moment was the moment I decided, why am I writing books on French slang? It's American slang. It's in my own backyard, so much so I never realized how much we use. So that's,
but we don't do, if it's kind of part of your everyday language, you take it for granted and you don't think, actually, this is not at all what's in the textbooks, or, you know, how people speak. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, and to your point, when I ran home and told my mom, I said, Mom, I'm going to write books on American slang. And she said, oh, David, we don't use that slang. Come on. And I said, I'm sorry, come on? That's slang, Mom. And she said, no way. No way, Ma? That's slang. And she said, oh, knock it off. That's slang, Ma. She looked up and said, yeah, maybe we do use a lot of slang. So to your point, we use it without even realizing it.
Yeah, I think we do, totally. So tell me, what is Slangman? You're here with your books, helping us to learn idioms and slang in American English?
Yes, because there's nothing worse. And I was that ESL student in reverse when I lived in France. When you spend all this money to learn English, and I get this from students, this is what students are telling me all the time. They spend money to learn English and they can pass a test, which is great. Then they go to the United States, they go to Canada, they come to England, and they can't understand anything. And there's nothing more depressing. You think I'm fluent in a language and you realize there's a whole other language that no one ever taught me. So that is why I got into this. I want to make sure that I'm the guy to say, here's how we really say it. And that excites me. I could be that person to open the door to a whole other language that a lot of students are trying to understand. So I'm that guy, and there's no one else who's written books for the classroom, in particular on slang and idioms. So I've done a whole course on textbook and workbook and teacher's guides and assessments at my website, slangman.com, if it's okay if I mention.
Of course it is, yeah.
That. If you go to slangman.com, and even write to me, david@slangman.com. I'll give you free access to all my books online. david@slangman.com. Since you're watching, that's my gift to you.
How often, or slang changes, doesn't it, over time? Have you found that there has been a lot of change in slang since you started writing your books? And what does that mean for you as an author? How are you dealing with that?
That's such a good question. I love when teachers come up to me and say, how do I know your books aren't getting outdated? That's my favorite question, and here's why. So all the slang in my books are classic slang. To be ticked off, to bend over backwards to help someone, that's cool. Everyday slang. But the slang that keeps changing, I'm totally bragging, but I'm excited about it, as you can tell. I have videos in my books. The main video updates every day, where I say to the students, okay, here's the slang, the new slang I heard on TV or in social media today. So they can't get outdated. And that's exciting to me. I want to be that guy to make sure that our students never feel like they're outsiders. It's a horrible feeling.
No, I know, but I sometimes feel like I'm the outsider as well. That language is changing so fast, especially, you know, the older I get, the further removed I feel that the language is from the language that I grew up speaking.
Absolutely. So how do I stay up to
yeah.
date? So I do live streams twice a day on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. And to my shock, I was scared to do these live streams. I thought they're going to be teenagers coming into my rooms. They're going to wonder, why is this old guy? One guy said, what are you, 30? Which I thought was hilarious. Like, yeah, that's it. I'm 30. So obviously to a teen, anything over a teen is really old. teens come into my room, and I thought the first time they are going to skewer me. This is going to be terrible. They were so excited that here's this older person talking about not just all slang, but their slang too. So they're the ones. They come into my room and they'll say, "Hey, Slangman, do you know this one? Do you know that we all say 6, 7?" You've heard that one, I bet, right?
Yeah. What does it mean?
Okay, this was fascinating. This made me feel so excited. So 6, 7 means nothing. It's just a thing. Anytime you say 6 or 7, you do that thing with the hands.
Yeah.
Okay. So this, right now, a lot of people are, at loggerheads with each other. Last week, I went to France, where I used to live, and I took the bateau mouche, which is the boats on the Seine, and along the embankment were hundreds and hundreds of people having wine and just having fun. On our boat must have been 500 people from different cultures who did this to the people on the embankment who did it back. It was the first time I'd seen a universal gesture. It was just a moment of connection, it means nothing. But what it meant was simply, hey, we have a commonality. And I can't tell you that it gets me emotional thinking about it. It was just that moment of connection, finally.
Well, speaking of connections, I was going to ask, is there a lot of similarity between, let's say, American slang, British slang, Canadian slang?
Oh,
Is it much of a muchness, or are there real differences?
you are so in my head. It's amazing. Okay. I love this question so much. Okay. I used to be a tour guide at Universal Studios. Big surprise. And okay, so I had a tram full of people from England. It was 125 people. This goes back a ways. And I said, "Hello, my name is David Burke." And everyone started laughing. Okay. And I'm like, "What did I just say?" And a woman afterwards came up to me and said, in England, a ripe Burke is, you don't want to be a ripe Burke. So I learned that the hard way. And then I discovered that not only do we have a lot of differences in slang. For example, I just heard someone say today, what does it mean? There's a British expression when a room is very tight, something about swinging a cat. What is that expression?
Oh, you can't swing a cat.
You can't swing a cat.
Yeah.
We don't have that.
Oh, what do you say? It's a small.
It's just, we're packed like sardines.
Yeah. Also, yes.
But
You really don't have that. You can't.
we don't have a swinging a cat.
Fair enough. You shouldn't. Don't do that.
Yes. Don't swing a cat. That's not very good. I'm trying to think of some of the along the way, obviously, I've learned today there was, I didn't know what this meant. In my hotel, there was an instruction this morning. I'm trying to make breakfast, and it was talking about what I need to do on the hob. And I'm looking at a hob, thinking, is that like a cabinet somewhere? So is that an oven or stove?
It's the stove top.
That's the hob.
Yeah.
The
It's
stove top.
the ring on the top, which heats up, is the hob. Yeah.
That's the hob. Okay. Then I heard, and this was just one of our dangerous expressions that sometimes don't translate. I'll be very clean about it.
Pasty.
Pasty. How do you pronounce it?
Pasty, like a Cornish pasty.
A pasty. For us, it's something totally different.
Oh, really?
Ooh, yeah. And we are all educators here. It's what a woman would wear here when she's wearing an elegant dress. It's to cover up her.
Oh, okay.
We call it a pasty. Yeah. So
we are literally divided by a common language, aren't we?
I love that. And I know we're all educators. I don't want to go too far, but there's an expression that I did use. I won't say the word, but maybe you can figure it out. When I was a tour guide, and evidently it was really terrible, and I had no idea what I said. And I'll say this in code. So a little girl stood up on the tram, and I said very innocently, "Oh, I need you to sit your." It starts with an F, ends in a Y. For us, it means a child's little rear end. It means nothing. And everyone audibly went, and I had no concept. And there I am for the next 2 hours really worried, like I said something. And so this is when this woman came up to me and she was crying. She was laughing so hard.
Oh, okay.
She was scream laughing, said, "Do you know what you just said?" No, I had no idea. So sometimes there are these expressions that we have to be so very careful about. But like you say, being two countries divided by a common language, it's more fun to find out what those things are and laugh about them.
For sure.
Have differences.
But I think it's super important as well, especially like with intercultural communication, like knowing what the differences are and knowing what the slang is. Like, I think it helps definitely with communication and broadening our students' minds. Definitely.
100%. In fact, there's, yesterday someone told me we are going to table the discussion. What does that mean for you?
Table it.
We're going to table the discussion. Because she said we're going to put it on the table and talk about it.
Meaning like to get it out into the open. Right.
And for us, it's the opposite.
To table it means to be quiet about it.
We're going to take it off. Take it off the table.
Okay.
So, on that note, at Warner Brothers, who produces Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck, they had stores all around the U.S. And Warner Brothers called me as Slangman and said, "We need you to come and talk to our employees because we had a slang disaster." What's a slang disaster? Well, what happened was they told their Japanese manufacturers, "We are going to shelve the project." And the Japanese people, they bowed. That was the contract. They went back to Japan to create millions of dollars worth of products to be put onto these shelves.
Oh, gosh.
Of the stores. So like you say, these cultural differences, we think slang, it's not, it's kind of fun. It's not that serious. It's really serious, especially in business, because we have products that don't travel well, that, there could be a name of a product that's fine in one country and not so fine in another one. We hear about this all the time. So it's fun. It's exciting for the students and motivating for the students. We all want to know what we're really saying. And not only is it fun, but it's really, really important. It's the way to integrate.
It is, definitely.
Connection.
Just to leave our viewers at home with a bit of a taste for slang, not to put you on the spot, but do you have a favorite piece of slang or something for today? What would you tell us?
I do. So if you look up Slangman on TikTok or Instagram or YouTube, you'll find me. And on TikTok, one of my videos hit already 3.7 million.
Congratulations.
Well, here's the word. I love this word. Do you know the word Riz?
I do.
Okay, so Riz is not just short for charisma, but now what a lot of kids are doing is they are taking the word Riz and inventing a new expression around it. For example, they'll say, "Well, you've got a degree in quantum physics. You are a Rizosaurus Rex." So what happened when I put my video out, I said, "How many expressions can you come up with Riz?" And they're still doing it after a year. So that's one of my favorite ones because no one gets hurt. There was no blood lost. It's just fun word that everybody can participate in and make it their own. So that today is my favorite one. Of course, that 6-7 gesture is just,
it's universal.
It's who would have thunk
I know
that we would have a gesture around the world? I don't know of any other gesture. Really, no other gesture.
Not clean ones. No.
As I was telling some friends of mine, if you ask for two of something in England, you could get two black eyes if you don't use.
Yeah,
the
that's
right.
quite. Yeah, it's quite. Yeah, absolutely. I know it's very cultural. Absolutely.
And I'm being very good. I'm being very behaved because slang is clean. And by the way, slang is not dirty. Dirty words are dirty, and that's why I always emphasize, especially in what I write, it's all clean. Dirty is in my podcast. So I've got a podcast called Slang in the City. That's where people call in, write to me and say, "What does this mean?" And I tell them.
Okay.
But aside from that, it's all clean and it's in good fun.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for coming in and sharing with us what you do. And also welcome to IATEFL. I'm delighted that you love it. This is absolutely fantastic.
I can't wait for next year already. I want to get a spot already. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much and enjoy Brighton.
Thank you all for sitting through this and me.
Thank you. Hello.
Hello. Well, you start talking about Riz, of course I'm going to pop up.
Of course.
I
I
felt
was trying to think
called.
of something funny with Anchor and Ancrit. No, I can't do it. I can't do
No,
it.
you can't, what, can't be funny. Or...
No. I can't think of anything to combine your name with Riz, but you don't need to. You just are.
Do you hear that? This is what I have to put up here with.
Complimenting
Oh my-
you. Unbelievable. Anchor, my love, how are you? We haven't physically been together for a year.
No, I missed that. And in fact, I got so anxious about meeting these two that the summer before it started, I fell and I spent my first night in Brighton in the clinic. Really good healthcare. I don't know what you've been reading online about British healthcare, but I got to experience it. Love it.
But you're being a real trooper. You're in pain, but you've still powered through for the shows, which is it's amazing.
But it's worth it. Like, come on. It's like we haven't started. We just got started, and I'm already thinking like, this is what I'm here for. But yeah, it's a bit of a bad fall. I've fractured one foot.
I was going to say, I don't think the audience at home can see, but Anchor is sitting here with
to show. But I fractured my left foot, and I injured my right knee, which does make walking a bit of a well, I'd say saying I have a limp is an understatement.
But you've rallied through. We've hobbled around the conference. It's been
hobbled.
Great. Yeah.
She's offered to piggyback me, and I think this is very much like.
So Georgia is waving a hand at me for making Anchor move. I did offer to give you a piggyback, which you declined. So
I did, and up the stairs. You know how fit she must be. Like, I don't know. I thought falling was embarrassing on Sunday, but like it's.
But I know all of this. Yeah, I know. But yeah, well, I was going to ask you how's your conference started, but you've answered that question.
Well, physically not my best, but I have to say I do feel more than ever that we always go on and on about how IATEFL is like a movement and how people are together. And I do really feel that I've never needed so much help, but I never also got this much help. And I think even this, I think is a good example.
That's actually a lovely story.
This is a lovely story. I have crutches coming in that should help with tomorrow not needing any like assistance or piggybacks.
You say that.
But I got this on loan from someone at the hotel who's also visiting. I honestly don't know her name, but she just gave me hers. She says, you need it more than me today and tomorrow. Take it as soon as your crutches come in. You'll give it back. We're staying in the same hotel. No worries. And I was like, oh my goodness, it's
amazing, isn't it?
That is IATEFL. I love that.
Very kind.
Oh yeah. But so that's my start. How has IATEFL started for you?
Do you know what? It's been really lovely. It's a very nice atmosphere. I think IATEFL Brighton this time feels better just because the weather is nicer than it was 2 years ago, where it was that was torrential rain and wind, and that was difficult. But now it's so beautiful and everyone's in a good mood. The sun's shining, and it's so nice to run into kind of friends and colleagues. And yeah, so far it's been brilliant. And it's day 2, which is the main conference, so everyone's here now, which is great. And we had our poster presentation this morning.
We did a poster presentation together this year.
We did.
You totally got me on posters last year, and this year we even said we'll do it together.
So this is an interesting, but hang on, this is an interesting thing. If you don't necessarily feel that presenting in person is your thing, there is always the option of having a poster presentation. It's not that you say nothing, you get to stand by your poster. But if you're a bit of a nervous presenter, then that could be an option and a way to join the conference.
Oh yeah, because what happened this morning, I think, is we had conversations about our topic more than that we actually had to have something prepared and present. And I do like that because our poster was very much about game didactics, and we got to talk to loads of people who play games, who are into games. And I think that's a very useful exchange for us too, as well. So that's like,
definitely
best thing.
Definitely. I completely agree. And in the coming days, is there anything you're looking forward to?
Loads, mostly the live stream,
of course. Yes.
And I think as soon as my crutches come in and I can get around, I might actually see more than the studio in these two, which of course I'm not saying it could be better than these two, but it would be nice to get out. So ask me at the end of the conference, and then I'll let you know if it's better on the outside than
absolutely
is in here. But
absolutely,
what about you?
Oh gosh, all of the plenaries tomorrow For example, we've got Danny and Richard talking about emerging language, and then Laura on Thursday, Rachel Roberts. Looking forward to all of it.
And let's not forget our very important talk of a certain Georgia.
On Thursday. We'll keep you posted.
She scheduled her talk during a live stream just to make sure we wouldn't attend. So really, if
we've got our spies, Georgia, we can find out how.
If anyone now deserves to have a full room, it's going to be Georgia.
Exactly. All right, my love. I think we should let other people come and say what's happening, don't you?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Let's have our next speaker in.
Yeah.
Georgia's waving at us. I'm back. Actually, I'm still here. But now with our, I'm always going to say annual guest, but you sang to us last year and you moved Georgia to tears. So
I remember the song.
So we said you simply have to come again. He brought his guitars. We've got Jeremy Harmer, in case you didn't, who doesn't know, but in case you didn't know, happy to have you. How have you been? We haven't talked for a year.
I've been absolutely fine. The big thing that's happened to me is what I'm advertising on my front. I've set up my own publishing company, and I'm writing
Better Late Publishing,
and I'm writing my own methodology books, and that's very exciting for me, but scary and all that kind of thing.
Oh, I can imagine.
And so I've got that book here at the conference for the first time because it's brand new, and people seem to be reacting very well, so I'm very happy.
But let me get this straight. We do get a lot of people who write books. It seems to be an ELT thing that we write books.
Yeah,
you didn't just write a book. You started your own publishing firm.
Yeah. Well, look, I've been writing books about English teaching methodology most of my professional life.
Yeah.
But we're living in really interesting times, are we not? The AI is through many of our traditional ways of doing things. The publishing community on the whole is doing their best to cope with what is a really challenging environment, and we all know that.
Yeah.
And their practices have all changed a lot. So if you're someone like me, I love writing. It's what I love writing. And I'm old enough to just go and sit in the garden and pat the dog, but it's just not my style. And I want to keep doing what I love.
Yeah.
And so the only way to do it and make it make sense is to set up your own outfit and publish yourself. And that means, of course, you have to. And by the way, the worst thing you could ever do is sort of do it like, I'm brilliant, I'm just going to do it. So what you have to do is, find yourself a proper editor, pay the editor, pay proper designers, pay that. You have to do the whole thing as if you were.
Well, if you want to look professional, you have to be professional and hire professionals. Yeah.
Well, or you just turn that around the other way.
Yeah.
If you want to be professional, you have to look professional.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. And I say the first, I will stop talking about it, but it's a 5-book methodology series, and the first one's called Being an English Teacher.
Mm-hmm.
So it's about the business of teaching and classroom management, stuff like that. And then we go through the various different phases in 5 books. And what fascinates me about the process, I was doing I was on a podcast the other day for the Brazilian Teacher Development Group, and we were talking about CPD, continuing professional development.
Yeah.
And he was asking me, what do you do for CPD? And I said, well, I've started my own publishing company and I'm writing books. And boy, talk about professional development. Woof! It's like sort of trying to scale a vertical cliff face. It's been great, and I recommend anyone to do it because it's a really big thing. You know, it's a massive thing. And
I think like that's why I was going with my question. Like, we know people who self-publish, but that's usually via a platform. You just figured you'd start your own.
Yes, yes. And I mean, look, I want a big shout out to one of our great IATEFL delegates, a woman called Dorothy Seamack, who I don't know if we've ever had to interview her here.
Not yet.
You really should, because she's a great, charismatic, amazing person, but she also has her own publishing company, and she runs online courses for people who want to get into self-publishing. Now, I've known Dorothy for years; we're friends.
Yeah.
But I did her course. It's absolutely brilliant, and the help she's given me since then. So this is not it's not for the faint-hearted, and it costs money. But
if you're serious and you want to be professional, you said it, hire professionals
exactly
and do it right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because I mean, in the back of my mind, I have a memory of my uncle publishing his autobiography, and it was one of the most deeply embarrassing things I have ever read. God bless you, Uncle Michael. I hope, you know, rest in peace and all that. But you just think, why? You know. So there you are. But like, I've just seen Jim Scrivener come in, and you know, he's like me. We're professional writers. So what you have to do with professional writing is write professionally.
Yeah.
And so on and so forth. But anyway, but so that's by the by. But I shouldn't go on talking because you may want to have some questions. But you know, here I am at IATEFL for the 2,366th time, it feels like, and it's just so great to be here.
What are you enjoying so far?
Like a lot of us, this is my community. When I say it's my
for the final break of the day, sponsors Macmillan are on the IATEFL stand for the managers, directors, and academic leaders meet up and a slice of fruit.
I don't know whether you all heard that watching and listening. But if I hurry up, I might get a slice of fruit at a publisher's stand.
We get the very important updates here in the studio live.
I love the fact that I get to interact with my community. When I say my, I mean our community. You know?
Yeah.
But it's wonderful to see so many people, and people you know from you know, intimately from, you know, my part of the business, but also teachers I've met in Algeria, in Tunisia, all these places coming in South America. It's like, hello, it's great. Plus some amazing talks, provocative conversations. And you know, the breaks are as important as the talks.
Oh yeah, I think you say it right. It's about the content, it's the talks, it's the provocative ideas, but then also it's about the community, catching up, meeting each other, and
years ago in Thailand, I went to a talk by Alan Mackenzie, who at that time was working for the British Council, and he said it was quite funny because I'd just done a plenary, and he said there's no point in plenaries. The only point of a plenary is the coffee break. And he thought he was being insulting about plenaries, but he had it absolutely right. The point of a good plenary is the coffee break, because if you're lucky, in the coffee break, people will talk about what they've just heard. And that's a focus of absolute kind of engagement.
Well, that's, I think, the point of teaching as well, right? Like we try to say intelligent things as teachers, but then we know we did a good job when our students talk about it with each other. And that's how you learn, that's how you process, and how you sort of advance yourself.
Absolutely get that. I think that's right. And what's the point of going to conferences? Well, it's great. I love teachers. It's my tribe.
Yeah.
I'm a member of, that's my tribe. That's the tribe I'm a member of. But it's that interaction, the sharing of experiences, the sharing of doubts and fears and triumphs. And that's what makes it such a great place to be, you know?
It is. It is. And speaking of tribes, I'm going to ask you now for a tribe song. What
Okay, so
what have you prepared for
okay,
us?
last thing, as I think you know, for the last few years, I've run a music evening at every IATEFL conference.
Yes.
That's one of my other favorite things to do because I have no idea who's going to sing tonight. They could be from Ukraine, they could be from India, they could be, we've had people playing the classical Japanese flute, we've had people singing songs of longing from Latvia or great songs from Mexico or something. I don't know what we're going to get. It's
Open
just
mic night.
glorious.
Yes.
It's exactly what it is. And so I run that and I always sing a song or two. And I'm just going to sing you, I won't sing you the whole song, but I'll just sing you a burst of a song I wrote just at the end of last summer. And it'll be clear what happens. Let's see.
And you wrote it yourself.
Let's
Love
see
it.
if it works.
Looking at Georgia. Sound good? Brilliant.
Summer be over and contentment return to a show. Why must the nothing bad happens here feeling fade away like the echoes of a bell? I don't want to leave this enchanted place and go back to the place of the life which I lead. I just want to climb up to the top of this hill and be back in the summer, back in the summer again. Oh, this love, when it happens, is powerful and sweet. The cry of the gull and the kiss of the breeze. Memory and wonder, souls in our care. Laughter and thunder waves of music so rare. And your smile in the sweet summer air. Do the chorus again. Oh, this love, when it happens, is love and sweet. The cry of the gull and the kiss of the breeze. Memory and wonder, souls in our care. Laughter and thunder waves, music so rare, and your smile in the sweet summer air. Oh love, oh love, oh love, oh love, oh love, oh love, and your smile in the sweet summer air.
Woo! Wow.
Well, I love it. It's what I spend 50% of my time doing this kind of thing. I love it.
Nice. And tonight on the music night, you're going to do.
I'll sing a couple of songs and then we get all the other singers in from wherever. Repeat, I have no idea who's going to start. Last year we had a guy from India and he brought a Bhangra backing track and he sang a sort of Bhangra Bollywood song of it. We've never had that, and it's just kind of wow.
So if you are in the area and you can still make it, be there tonight for more music and
From
more
8 o'clock
songs.
to 10 o'clock tonight. I've completely forgotten where it is. Has anyone got a program with them? Music nights. This is so inefficient of me. Do you know? Oh, she's.
Georgia is going to
Georgia's
put it
gonna
on the screen. On your screen now. So if you're looking at this from your hotel room and you're in the area,
Please come, because I promise you, it's the nicest feeling of sort of fellowship and cheerfulness and sharing you'll ever get.
music does do that.
It does.
It does. Brilliant. So information is coming up after. For now, I'm going to thank you for another amazing song, and I'll book you for next year's live stream already, if you don't mind, so that next year we'll have another brilliant
That would be
original
wonderful.
song.
And I say, I went to a talk today by the wonderful Lindsay Clanfield. He was talking about revision. There's a point, I'm finishing. And he said one of the things you do at the end of a lesson is you do what they do on Hollywood sort of TV shows, coming up next. And all I can say is, unless my eyes deceive me, you've got a wonderful interview coming up next. So I hope you enjoy it.
I do have another one coming up next. And next year, we've got you coming up.
I've got to come up with another song. Oh, God.
Yes, no pressure, but you have to be best. Like next one has to be this good at least. Thank you.
Welcome to Brighton, the vibrant seaside city ensconced along the southern coast of England. Prepare to embark on a journey of discovery as we uncover the fascinating and quirky facts that make Brighton truly unique. Brighton isn't just a vibrant seaside town, it also holds a secret world lurking beneath its surface. Built in the 18th century, these passageways were originally used for drainage and, shall we say, a spot of smuggling. While most remain hidden, some sections are now open for exploration. So, if you're feeling adventurous, you can embark on a guided tour and delve into Britain's fascinating and slightly spooky underground history. Hello, and after that musical interlude, I am back and I'm joined by Ha Trans. Hello, Ha, how are you?
Very good. How are you today?
Not too bad, not too
Yeah.
bad. I'm having a lot of fun and it's lovely to meet new
Yeah,
people.
it's
And
lovely to be here.
yeah, good. I'm glad that you're enjoying the conference. Ha, before we start, can you tell everybody what is it that you do in English language teaching? What's your journey been and where are you now?
So basically, I am currently living in the U.S., San Jose, California. But before that, I lived in Vietnam. And what I'm doing right now is teaching IELTS to students and also academic English. And also, I also work in at a teacher training center. So I also train teachers as well.
Okay, perfect. And today you had your talk with was it the Learner Autonomy SIG?
Yeah, learner autonomy and learning technology as well. Yeah.
Perfect. And your talk was all about how students should be able to step away from artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
Okay. Before you tell us a bit more about that, where did the idea came from? Because it's interesting. It seems like everybody's talking about how to embrace it. So the idea of stepping back is a different perspective.
Yeah, that is a very interesting question. So 1 year ago, I was obsessed with using AI and instructing my students to use AI. But a few months later, I figured out one big problem, and that is when your students use AI a lot, like overuse AI, it causes a lot of problems rather than just the benefits. So I just I questioned myself. So am I doing this in the right way? And AI is believed to have many benefits in helping your learners learn something. But if it is that helpful, so why some of our students are still struggling with using AI, and also our teachers struggle to instruct our students to use AI. So for example, many students, if they want to use AI and they overuse it, sometimes you can control the result, and sometimes they cannot truly learn something from just using AI to produce some writing essays or something. So we want to take a step back and look what is the big picture here, and how we can use AI, and how we can instruct our students to use AI in the correct way.
So it's not a case of stepping back completely from AI, but more a case of how to use it for self-assessment to develop.
In a critical way. Yeah,
absolutely. And so for anybody watching at home, how can you give us some idea about how we can critically engage with AI in order to help the students?
Yeah. So in my talk, I was mentioning 4 learning strategies that you can implement in your classrooms. And the first one is about retrieval practice, which is, I think, more commonly known as active recall. So one way to secure learning is that you can help your students to recall the information that they have learned before, rather than just having the AI to learn it, to do it themselves. For example, if I have one of my students, he loves coding, he loves AI, and he wants to improve his English by coding an app himself to learn some English vocabularies. And every day he's gonna use AI to filter some English vocabularies for him, and he's gonna revisit the list and rereading through the list a lot of times, but he just reads it. Reads the list, and he thought that he was learning something, but actually he didn't. He cannot recall any vocabulary in the list, because rereading something is not learning. You can only remember something by trying to remember the information. So for example, we can use flashcards or do the mind maps or do the summaries or note takings, and by doing so you are trying to remember what you have learned. And you have to suffer a little bit. You have to like suffer and try to remember what was in the material so that you can learn the material or learn some content from the material. So that was the first step. That is the first step. That is the retrieval practice. You learn something and then you put them away, you put the material away, you try to remember what is included in the material. Yeah. And the second learning strategy is spaced repetition. So spaced repetition is maybe some of you have heard of that before. So spaced repetition means that in order to remember something, you have to revise it across multiple learning sections, and you have to revise it over time. So I once attended a talk, and I was really impressed with the speaker, because he said that too often we as teachers, we teach something and then we drop. We teach and drop. It means like if you have a syllabus, lesson 1, content 1, lesson 2, content 2, lesson 3, content 3, and then just goes like that.
And we don't revise it. Yeah.
We don't revise it, and we don't repeat it. And we hope that at the end of the course, our students will remember and do their best at a test, but it doesn't work like that. So in order to boost the memory, we have to design a syllabus with lots of revision sections. And also we can use some apps, like some out there are some vocabulary apps that have the revision feature. So it will remind our students when to revise the vocabularies or revise the content. So we can advise our students to use those apps. Or you can also, like in my case, if I want to promote the vocabulary retention among my students, I can create a progress tracker on Google Sheets. That is free. You can do that on Google Sheets, and your students will use Google Sheets and track their learning sections, and you can also access the link on Google Sheets, and let's see how your students are doing. So that is one.
So do you manually as a teacher have to input the students' progress, or how does it?
Yeah, I have a template.
Okay.
And then they can input just like Quizlet number 1, vocabulary set number 1, vocab set number 2, and just goes on like that. And it has to be a little bit manually. If you have the apps, that is perfectly fine. But if you don't have any apps, and you basically you have tight budget, and you don't have you don't want to pay for any platforms or something, you can try Google Sheets as a free option. So Google Sheet is one of my recommendations. A little bit manual, but you can control and also track the progress of your students.
Okay, lovely. Yeah, this is great advice, and free, which is my favorite price as well. So you can manually fill in what they've done, and then you can see whether or not it's been revisited or whether it's time to revisit. Okay, lovely. So that was 2. What are steps 3 and 4?
Step number 3 is that dual coding. Dual coding, it means like you will combine the text and the visual at the same time, because many research have shown that our brain are triggered by both of these channels. So for example, if you have a flashcard and it has a word on that, and if you input an image as well, so if your student look at the text, they cannot remember the meaning, they can look at the image. So basically the idea here is that we should recommend our students to use both the text and the visual to remember something. So for example, we can do flashcards with images, when we can do mind maps, or we can use some diagrams. For example, if you want to teach your students about the past tense, the grammar past tense, you can have a diagram like past simple, past perfect, past continuous, and you have a diagram showing the differences among these grammar tenses. So that was the dual coding.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's super helpful because as well, especially when we're dealing with, let's say, Generation Z or,
Yeah.
younger learners, that they're talking about the idea of multimodal
Yeah.
text
Yeah.
and how that is more appealing and understandable to the younger
Mhm.
generation. So the dual coding, the visual plus the text
Yeah.
is appealing to that. That's great. Okay.
Yeah.
And the final one?
The final one is elaborative rehearsal.
Oh.
Yeah, it means like you have to practice it. You have to produce the language and also connect it with your culture, like something already familiar with you. So, for example, you can ask your students to generate some examples of something that you have just taught them. So, for example, in IELTS preparation, the students have to read many reading passages, but the content feels somehow unfamiliar with them. For example, in my case, when I teach my students in Vietnam and they have to read a lot of reading passages, but the content will be, let's say, nutmeg. One reading passage in IELTS is about nutmeg, but nutmeg is not familiar with many of them.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
So they won't even know what nutmeg
Yeah,
is.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, so I asked them to talk about something that is more relevant to them at the end of the reading section. Maybe talk about some spices in Vietnam so that they can connect the new knowledge which is nutmeg, and with something they are already familiar with, which is like some spices in Vietnam. Yeah.
Which is lovely. So that's the personalization element.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which can help with retention and relatedness.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. And all of this done with the help of AI or without the help of AI, these steps?
Yeah. So that is a brilliant question, because I mentioned in at my talk that all of these crucial things, like the cognitive tasks, should be done by the students. The AI can help as well, but in some specific tasks. So, for example, if the students make the flashcards, I also suggest that if possible, you can advise your students to self-make the flashcards. Yes, it takes a lot of time and it's manual, but when your students make the flashcards, that is one time to practice retrieval practice. Because if they want to make the flashcard, they have to remember what is the meaning of this, and it just goes on like that. And it takes time, but it's worth it. It's going to be worth it.
Because I suppose now it's very easy, isn't it, to kind of ask AI to generate the flashcards for you or to provide the code. So yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so in a way, we've come into a time where it's kind of doing everything for us, which means that we're not physically or mentally taking part in the learning process. Okay. And is this something that you're trying out with your students?
Yeah, this is something that I am trying to do with my students, and the feedback I think is positive, because they told me that because in my class I am open to AI and I am open to discuss AI with them, so they can trust me and I can also trust them. So I am quite confident that if I ask my students, did you use AI to do this or to do that, they can answer, like give me the honest answer, and I can help them with that as well.
Brilliant. So hang on. So let me just, as a final closing, let me just try and recall the 4 steps that you suggested. The first one was
retrieval practice.
Yep, that's it. Retrieving what you know, then
spaced repetition, revise it.
Perfect. So revising over when you know it, leave it for a while, but then come back to it. Brilliant. The third one?
Dual coding. Yes. Use the text and visual channels as well.
Brilliant. And finally?
And the fourth one is elaborative rehearsal. It means that you can connect with something that you already knew and also produce something new in speaking or writing skills.
Lovely. And I think also being open with the students about AI, how they're using it, and kind of, working with them rather than against them is definitely the way forward. Well, thank you so much. It's been lovely having you here. I hope that you enjoy the rest of the conference now that you can relax and you don't have to do your talk. You've got that out of the way. All the best, and thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
And I'm back. And I'm back with Jeremy Harmer, kind of already gave that one away. Jim Scrivener, am I pronouncing it correctly? And you brought Adrian Underhill, two of the biggest names, I think, in IATEFL. I think you opened also the conference with a nice popular talk. Quite a popular and good one.
Yeah.
Nice. Could you, for the few people here who don't know you, could you two introduce yourselves?
Yeah. So hi, my name's Jim. I think probably most people know me from books that I wrote. My probably the most well-known book was Learning Teaching, which went through 3 editions and is a sort of basic guidebook to methodology in English language teaching. But I've also got various other books. The one I'm here at this conference particularly promoting is Classroom Management Techniques, which is now being published in a 2nd edition to take on board online teaching, which wasn't really a thing in the time that the first book was published 14 or so years ago. So that's me.
Well, I'm Adrian Underhill, and I've been to nearly every IATEFL conference for about the last 40 years. How about that? And I run teacher training courses from time to time, and I also am quite interested in a lot of things, including pronunciation teaching. So that's about me.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
You're here to talk about teaching.
Teaching.
Not teaching.
Not teaching, but the teaching.
Let me put up the poster. Very sustainably printed. I approve. Teaching. What is teaching?
Jim, say something about teaching. Well, what do you think it is?
Well, if you go onto something like Spotify and you do a search for the English language teaching, then you'll find that there's a podcast, which features Adrian and myself having little arguments about English language teaching, but also things we don't understand to do with science and consciousness and human life and
science and psychology and whether whales can speak or not, science in all sorts of respects, the frontier, things we don't understand.
I do stress we don't understand them, and this is, we hope, is the selling point, that this is two English language teachers who are trying to get to grips with quantum physics and consciousness and intuition, and see if we can make any sense and link it to teaching.
But really, all this is actually about teaching and different approaches to teaching. So we start in funny places, but we end up in the classroom all the time.
What made you think we're going to set up a podcast about teaching, and then also specifically for English teachers with an interest in quantum physics?
The reason we set it up is because for many, many years, we've been having these conversations privately. We have a cup of tea and we have a chat about something, and we frequently find ourselves going down these roads that are somewhere between what on earth is going on in the world and the classroom, the language classroom. And it just seemed like it would be a shame if we didn't share some of this quite interesting chat with other people.
So we found a reason to continue these chats and to invite people into them, and to keep these chats short. It was usually about 10 minutes. And
do you think anybody else will want to listen?
Well, I think they probably will, because they're so interesting and they're only 10 minutes.
We find ourselves interested.
Sooner or later, we'll also be inviting questions, of course, and inviting other people to come and speak to us as well.
But when you talk about the pebbles you found on the beach, why will somebody out in Vietnam or in
because it links so quickly to the classroom and what goes on in the classroom and what could go on in classrooms, or how classrooms could be more interesting or different from the ways they are.
And we do both have a particular view about language and learning, don't we? We have a quite specific angle on things.
I guess we both think that relationship is kind of more important than method. That method in the end doesn't really matter. You could have super classes with almost any method. You say?
Yes. That was my talk this morning, in fact. Yeah.
Jim did a talk this morning, which is the whole of ELT in 30 minutes, in 30 points. ELT in 30 points.
Why do people go on courses that last months when you could do it in 30 minutes?
Yeah, half an hour.
Yeah.
But of course, there wasn't any practice to this. Wasn't
But
teaching
there was
practice.
even a bit of practice in it. I got one repeating sentences. Yeah. I did it all.
So I think our interests are really in how teaching can be more fun for teachers and learning for learners.
And also how you can spread your perspective a little bit wider than just the grammar and the vocabulary.
Yes.
That's why we're interested in bringing things like science into it, because we think that there are places you can go in teaching that are maybe exciting and interesting to influence you and knock you a little bit sideways.
For example, we found ourselves talking about intuition. Now, that's a very interesting area, not necessarily as a topic for students, but the fact that intuition exists and is a capacity that humans have to understand and sort of intuit all sorts of things in ways that are not straightforward learning. So how do you intuit grammar? What is the role of intuition in mastering grammar, in addition perhaps to the role of the head?
I think my favorite one was when we talked about consciousness and whether it's possible that consciousness is something external to our brain. It's actually a field out there that we're tuning into. And if it's just a wild supposition and probably has no truth to it, but if it was true, how would that change what we did in terms of teaching and learning? Have you noticed we haven't let our interviewer get a word in edgeways?
I was just thinking, you're kind of proving the point.
Your name and how come you are here?
I'll introduce myself. Well, I do see the sort of flaw in your plan in terms of letting guests into your show, because I can vouch that even behind the scenes, these guys are crazy funny, and you do sort of take it away. I feel quite redundant. How
we met in the Oxford University, Worcester College.
We did years ago. Yeah, we did.
How did that impact your life? Worcester College, I mean, the gardens.
Well, I think they really did inspire me to think about listening to podcasts.
Oh, very good. Very good.
That's my job. That's my job. No, but I do actually think that sort of quiet spaces and quiet times, such as, doing the dishes at home, which is not necessarily quiet, but it's like one of those meditative moments. They do really inspire us to listen to podcasts. And you guys, you're funny. And
we're crazy.
Genuinely, I'm intrigued now. I want to know, why do I need to bring pebbles to my classroom to make them interesting?
No, don't bring them to the classroom.
No.
What, leave pebbles outside? But that's already
No, I wouldn't say leave pebbles outside the classroom, no.
Okay, but also don't take them. I see where the quantum physics comes in now. So we don't take them inside the classroom, but we don't leave them outside the classroom.
If you listen to the very first episode we recorded of the English language teaching podcast, it actually starts with Adrian explaining why he was carrying a bag of pebbles, not from the beach, but he was taking them back to the beach. And of course, I immediately had to ask, what on earth are you doing taking pebbles to the beach? Nobody does that. But if you want to find out why he was doing it, you have to listen.
But also, Jim, you're not quite right. It was actually shells.
Oh, shells.
Yes, there were beautiful shells, and they'd been at home for quite a few years, and I was returning them to the beach in the way that you return books to a library.
What a very wholesome thought.
So
that's very
we
sweet.
Borrowed them. My daughter actually borrowed them, and she asked me to. And about 10 years later, she asked me to take them back.
As kids, they take pets, and it's the parents that look after them, and then return them.
Yeah, so that's where the shells went anyway, and they're happily back. But we did have a conversation also about, where does the classroom end? Does it end at the door? Well, no, it doesn't really.
No.
So it's not a matter of the shells being inside or outside the classroom. There is experience everywhere.
True.
You've given me the microphone.
Yeah.
That means that comes with expectations of brilliance.
Are you going to ask me a question?
I would. Would you want a question?
Yeah, go on, ask me a question.
What made you think of doing a podcast? I mean, you're a writer.
Yes.
Then you said, let's do a podcast. You're already talking. Obviously, the topic makes sense, but why this podcast, and why should I listen to this one when there are more on Spotify? What sets you apart?
There are a lot of podcasts that have been done over the years.
I didn't want to put it like that, but yes.
On English language teaching. But,
yeah.
And a lot of them are very good and very interesting. They tend to be on here are 5 techniques for doing this, or here is a way to do this in the classroom. And we thought there's a lot of that around. What we wanted to do was introduce something with a slightly wider perspective, something that was maybe starting to address some of the questions that weren't getting asked about English language teaching, to do with relationship, to do with interaction in the classroom, to do with beliefs, to do with what we believe is good for us as humans, how we should behave to each other, things like that.
To do with qualities of joy and really enjoying learning, finding that learning is a really personally rewarding thing, which has a positive feeling to it.
Yeah.
Things like that. Really finding that attention. What is attention? Teachers say pay attention, but what is attention, and why, when you pay attention voluntarily, is it such an enjoyable thing to do for any child from the age of 1, maybe less, up to adult?
I love that.
I think we're both quite curious people. We're curious about things we read, things we learn, and we're always, I think both of us are still interested in learning new things. So this is our way also of exploring things that we don't quite understand and that we're still puzzling about, to do with teaching as much as anything else.
Yeah, because earlier you said something about on and off topic, and that you'd it's partly teaching a methodology, but also you go off topic. But it sounds like it's not off topic.
We start off topic. We start with science or pebbles or shells or whatever, but we try and see if there's a learning from that, or something that inspires us to think about what happens in the classroom as a result.
It's all about humans, and it's about our curiosity about humans and how we tick. And then that filters fairly directly into classrooms and what can be done in classrooms. And those questions begin to have a resonance in classroom teaching, classroom learning.
Love it. So if you have an interest in anything sort of off topic, education wise, but that is actually on topic, the curious topics, have a listen. You said it's on Spotify, and it's 10-ish minutes.
10-ish minutes. There's most episodes are sort of 9.5 minutes or so. Yeah.
And it's called the Teaching.
English language teaching.
The English language teaching.
I stress that because if you just search for teaching, you come up with a whole pile of stuff. But if you search for the English language teaching, then
there's only one.
There's only one English language teaching.
Remember what he looks
and
like.
Here it is.
You'll find his picture there, and you know you found the right place.
And you'll find his
both your pictures, I hope. Yes. Okay. Good. And only 10 minutes, so there's no reason not to listen.
Fantastic.
Or you'll drive into work, or your train journey into work, or you'll walk into work.
Very true. Yeah.
I'm just waiting at the tax office.
I'm still thinking dishes, but
or while you're doing dishes. Yeah. Actually, I have to admit, my main use for when I'm listening to podcasts is for falling asleep. So if you want to fall asleep to our podcast, you are welcome to do that as well.
But you'll have to do it in 10 minutes.
What's your favorite place to listen or thing to do while you're listening to podcasts?
Oh, driving.
Driving.
Yeah, driving. Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, when I'm
Sleeping
driving
or
along,
driving. I advise against both because they're way too funny. So try something that, you don't want to fall asleep at, and that it doesn't distract you from the road. But do listen.
Anka, thank you very much. It's been lovely talking to you.
Thank
Is
you.
there anything else you want to add?
No, you've already taken over. Wrap it up.
Okay, wrap it up. Thanks very much.
Bye-bye. Thank you for listening.
Welcome to Brighton, the vibrant seaside city ensconced along the southern coast of England. Prepare to embark on a journey of discovery as we uncover the fascinating and quirky facts that make Brighton truly unique. Did you know Brighton played a pioneering role in several historical moments? Believe it or not, the skies above Brighton witnessed the world's first commercial flight in 1911. A small plane took off from nearby Shoreham carrying a rather unusual cargo, a box of light bulbs. Fast forward a few decades, and Brighton again made history by opening the doors to the UK's first land-based casino in 1962. This added another layer of excitement to the city's already vibrant nightlife scene. Welcome back. And this, I think, is the final interview today. Gosh, that's gone really quickly this afternoon. But last but by no means least, we've got Janine Hadala from University of Warwick that has joined us this afternoon. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
How's it going for you? How's IATEFL?
It's going very well. Quite packed today. Yeah.
It is. Are you with us for the whole week, or have you just come for 1 or 2 days?
No, I am until Thursday.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. And what are you, just to introduce yourself to people at home, how did you get into EFL? What's your journey been like, and where are you at the moment?
Right. Okay. So my name is Haneen Jadallah, and I am originally from Gaza City, from Palestine. I am a qualified teacher. I am a qualified English language teacher. I got my degree in 2012. And since then, I have been teaching English to young children, to teenagers as well. I spent the last 10 years of my life teaching and doing drama and online theatre with young people. So this is the kind of area that I work in. I did teach young children, but I also was involved heavily in doing drama and theatre projects with teenagers who are, were still in Gaza at the time, from 2013 until 2022, when I came to the UK for a master's degree on a Hornby scholarship. I did a master's in drama and English language teaching, a class of 2022 to 2023. And then I couldn't obviously go back to Gaza. So I taught for nearly a year at ESOL College Refugees in Birmingham. Then I got a scholarship to do a PhD, a Chancellor Scholarship to do a PhD at the University of Warwick as well, from 2024.
And is your PhD on the use of drama in English language teaching, or what's the topic?
Yeah, so my PhD is about the intercultural element, but also the method and the ethics when we facilitate stories, personal stories for young people coming from what I call fragile contexts. And what I mean by fragile contexts that young people are suffering from different realities. So it could be conflict affected areas, it could be places where they are under-resourced, where they feel isolated. So very often young people want to share their stories and their realities, but we know that stories are not automatically safe to be shared. So it's you as a facilitator. How do we deal with children in these messy places? How do we hold their stories with care? Because when we come into the classroom or the drama space, we promise that these stories are part of our responsibility as educators, and it's part of who we are as teachers to hold them with ethics and responsibility and validation. But I am also very interested in how do we support young people in other contexts, like well-off contexts, or contexts that less intense in terms of struggles. How do we support these young people who live different realities and might be in a more stable environment to understand the stories that are coming from a place like Gaza, stories of children who are suffering or more than one front? So how do we help that? And a turning point was when I was involved in the Voices Across Worlds British Council funded project back in 2024. So I led that project with 48 young people from Greece, Cameroon, Malaysia, Palestine, also displaced children in Egypt, and one refugee in the UK. So we created a network of teachers from these countries and students to share their personal stories and to swap them to perform each other's personal stories. It all started with the teacher training. So I asked the teacher to experience this themselves. And the teachers from Cameroon and from Greece has performed the story of a Palestinian teacher who talked about the last of the last, my colleague Lausanne, who talked about her last days of doing projects at schools in Gaza, not knowing that she wouldn't be able to go back to this. And the story was performed by teachers who live in a completely different context. And Lausanne had the chance to reflect on this experience. And she said it was a light amidst the darkness. To see how other people perform your story is very, very confirming and validating, but also it needs to be facilitated with a lot of care.
And what guidance or input did the people from the different contexts performing Lausanne's story have, and who from?
So I did a teacher training course for 8 sessions. We did, first of all, with my supervisor at the time, Steve Mann. We did a needs analysis session. So we kind of talked to the teachers about their technological input, because they needed to have some Zoom experience, for example, because the performance is online. And also we talked about what needs they feel that they want out of this, intercultural storytelling theatre project. So there was a series of teacher training sessions with the teachers that involved online drama activities, but also discussions around, themes related to the stories. We never knew what was going to come up because the stories hadn't been collected at that point. But we kind of anticipated, because I had been doing this work for quite a very long time. So you could kind of expect what's going to happen. And then the teachers reflected that it was very beneficial to people in the shoes of students and do the performance of their colleagues in another country, because this will help them to kind of navigate and put their fingers on the challenges that the student might feel. And then it will kind of urge you to think about a question: who owns the story when it travels around the world, when it's performed by somebody else? So is the ownership only for the author? Is it divided by the author and the performer? And then it gets us to the idea of the book, which just came out 2 days ago.
Congratulations.
Thank you. The book contained 3 sections. So the section 1 contains all the stories. David Heathfield wrote the foreword, so thank you, David, for the book. And all the stories coming from all these different countries, different range of stories, between like really sensitive topics to kind of everyday life experiences. And section 2 is how to script and stage a play for online theatre performances.
Okay.
So I and my colleague Lausanne wrote some lesson plans for this to help teachers around the world if they're interested in this form of, pedagogy and theatre.
So this is really practical, hands-on.
Really practical. And then you've got a section where the teachers wrote about their reflections. I love the project because it's not like it's kind of talking about the challenges as well as the advantages. So we're not trying to kind of romanticize the plight of the Palestinian children, for example, or children in Cameroon who are enduring different realities of, military attacks. We're not romanticizing the suffering and says, oh, the children are extraordinary, they're amazing, look at what they're doing. But instead, we are being authentic, I hope, as much as we could be. And also we're trying to hold the responsibility towards these stories. And we're not trying to shrink the experiences of, say, refugees around the world and people who are suffering from different realities into just a story of a victim, because it's not only a victim, they're human beings who share a lot of treasures of creative, pedagogies coming from these contexts that people might not pay attention to.
And if somebody watching at home is thinking, this is exactly the kind of thing that I would like to try out, what's the name of your book so that they can get hold of it?
Yeah, the book's name is Voices Across Worlds. And it's an ebook. It's available on the British Council Palestine, or I think it will be available, I believe, in 2 days' time, so 3 days, because it's just come out literally. And it's ebook. It's free to download. It's supported and funded by the British Council project. So they can just go online on the British Council Palestine website and download the whole book. And it's also got my email in the introduction. So they can just email me, and I am very, very happy to kind of get to know people who are interested in this form of theatre.
And if someone's thinking, okay, I wouldn't mind trying that out, is there one piece of advice or something that you found particularly helpful to guide you in your journey with this?
Yeah. So what I found helpful is that we know that the world is a challenging place at the moment. It seems like the whole world is on fire. So young people are a very big part of the future.
Mm-hmm.
So today we're responsible for their future. Tomorrow they are responsible for our future, for our children's future. What helped me is that to think about, their stories as treasures of humanity, and to try to think deeply under what the surface could show and tell their stories to the world.
Sorry, I'm just thinking about this now. There's a lot of food for thought there, definitely. And is this your presentation at IATEFL as well?
So I am talking tomorrow about youth performing care, resilience across borders. I'm going to give access through a QR code to the ebook. And also I'm running quite interactive session on practical activities of doing this form of theatre, and we will share a story coming from Palestine from a 9-year-old girl.
Wow. And so the session will be showing teachers how they can implement
this in the classroom, whether it's in person or online.
Mm-hmm.
I am more kind of online on this form of theatre because of course I work with young people that I can't reach in person, but it's also can be adapted to in-person environments. And also it's the kind of thing that we, in the age of AI, we want to humanize English language teaching, and you are better at the language if you do something you love with it, if you belong to the thing that you use the language with.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And how do people become interested? What if somebody is thinking, we've got stories to tell, we'd love to join you or to be part of this? Is there a community they could join, or
I think
how can people get started?
The easiest way is that when they get access to the book, they could email, and then it will be from there. Or if they Google Voices Across Worlds on the British Council, there will be a lot of information on there. And I think a report of the project implementation that I had written from the University of Warwick is coming out soon as well. So there is a lot of material. It's just the belief and the care and the responsibilities that you've got to hold towards these stories, away from direct exposure for the other children who are living in other realities.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay, well, best of luck with everything. I hope that your workshop tomorrow, that your session goes really well. It sounds super practical, leaving a lot for people to take away and start using. And I hope that you enjoyed the rest of the conference.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us.
It's been lovely. Thank you.
Hi. Hello, everybody. So we were just talking about the secrets of the studio life
That
here.
you don't know. Yeah, exactly.
And you might not ever know. Maybe we might tell you at the end of the conference. So this is day one. Hello, girls.
I can't believe how
Nikki.
fast that's gone. Hi, you two.
Hello,
oh, it's so
Anka.
nice to be back.
Yes, absolutely.
So nice.
And you know what? It has been such an eventful conference already.
It has. It has.
But hopefully next year we will be here laughing about it all. But what amazing interviews today.
Oh my goodness, that last Haneen. Oh my
Oh.
goodness, that was I was really
You know what? And can we say a big hug to David Heathfield?
Oh, absolutely. We're
who's
sorry that you're
watching us from home.
poorly.
David, we miss you this year, but you're more than welcome to come and join the shows whenever you
Next
want.
year, absolutely.
So wonderful interviews. If you haven't watched them, please go back to the live show of day one to watch the interviews, and then we're gonna get ready for tomorrow's show,
which will be just as good.
Absolutely, we have got lots of things happening tomorrow
We
as
do,
well.
we do.
We will give you a little bit of the vibe around the conference. Also at 6 o'clock today, don't forget that we have got the plenary going live, and it is a very good
You
one.
don't want to miss it.
Please watch it. Watch this space. You will see the advert going as soon as we switch off everything, hide the cameras away. You will see the advert going out for the 6 p.m. plenary. All right, Nikki.
Okay, Georgia, I think we deserve a bit of a nice drink and relax after this,
Absolutely.
no?
Well, we might or might not, because you know what? That's the beautiful problem that we have here in Brighton. It's so sunny.
Oh, that we should go to the beach.
Exactly.
Oh,
We should do the live from the beach.
You said that you made a promise that you were going to swim.
Who didn't? No, what?
She did. She
What?
did.
When
I'm
did
gonna
that
I'm going to
happen?
find the live show where she said that. Yeah.
No, but you know what? The beautiful problem that we had here at the studio was that it was so dark because the sun
Because
behind
it was so
us.
bright outside. Yeah.
Absolutely. And we cannot move the studio somewhere else because it's a fire exit. So we will try to do our magic. Please bear with us. It's a beautiful problem to have.
Isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. So today, girls, we had music, podcasts, beautiful stories.
We had it all.
We had
AI, use it, not use it. We had everything.
women in leadership as well.
Yep.
Oof.
Professional
I know.
development. We did.
Where do we go from there?
I don't know. Do you have to tune
Oh,
in
and
tomorrow to
6,
find
7.
out? 6, 7.
We had
Yep.
6, 7.
Slang. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. It was all
We
all
had
there.
everything. So
Yeah.
watch the space for more.
Absolutely.
I don't know why I'm losing my voice. You girls did all the talking. Yes.
It's from Georgia shouting at us from behind the scenes. That's why.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm barefoot and I shout at people. That's what happens behind the scenes.
Put some shoes on, Georgia.
So thank you very much for watching us today. We hope to see you here live tomorrow at 3 p.m. Don't miss out. A wonderful conference. We're a little bit jealous, actually, that there's so many things happening
I know.
behind those doors. But other people should be jealous because there's so many things happening here as well.
That's true. That is true.
Time to put Anka to bed
Yes.
and make her not move for the rest of the week.
Until the live show tomorrow. Yes.
Give Nikki a drink and then I will stop shouting at people. Thank you very much, everybody, and see you tomorrow.
See ya.
Bye-bye.